thrown into the death arena for diplomacy. The cold metal of the holding cell bit into Captain Elias Ward's back as he leaned against it, arms crossed, watching his team with an expression somewhere between frustration and dark amusement. "This is the worst first contact mission I've ever been on," Lieutenant Ava Carter muttered, pacing the length of the small chamber. "I don't know what's worse, the fact that we got captured or the fact that our captors think throwing us into a death match is a diplomatic gesture. They don't just think it." Sergeant Owen Vance grumbled from the bench where he was cleaning his fingernails with a combat knife. "According to them, this is how alliances are made. I love how they gave us the royal treatment before sending us to die," Private Dominic Rice quipped, sitting cross-legged on the floor. "Seriously, food, perfect gravity, temperature controls. Maybe they're hoping we'll be well fed before the slaughter." Ward exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. It was all so insane. Their mission had been straightforward: make peaceful contact with the Xelari, a newly discovered alien species with rumored advanced technology. Instead, the humans had been ambushed, disarmed, mostly, and informed that their worthiness as potential allies would be decided in bloodsport. The Xelari were an imposing race. Tall, reptilian, with iridescent scales that shimmered under the artificial lighting. They weren't the largest aliens humanity had encountered, but they carried themselves with an air of absolute certainty, as if their way of doing things was the only logical way. They seemed genuinely baffled when Ward tried to explain that Earth didn't settle diplomatic relations with gladiator battles. "The Grand Trial is our sacred test," the Xelari leader, High Warlord Zarkish, had declared. "All species must prove their mettle. It is how we determine if an ally is worthy." "Worthy of what?" Ward had asked, his patience wearing thin. "To stand beside us in the wars to come." And that had been that. Now, here they were, 4 stranded human soldiers, awaiting their turn in the so-called arena. A deep hum resonated through the walls, making their teeth vibrate. A moment later, a section of the cell turned transparent, revealing the battleground beyond. The arena was massive, at least the size of a small city, segmented into different terrains: jungle, ruins, water, and open fields with jagged rock formations. It wasn't just a gladiator pit, it was a war simulation. "Dame," Vance muttered, standing up. "That's a whole lot of nightmare fuel." A booming voice echoed across the space, the mechanical translation slightly delayed. "Honored challengers, welcome to the Grand Trial. Survive 3 rounds. Prove your species' strength, intelligence, and adaptability. Succeed, and your people will be deemed worthy. Fail, and your world will never be considered again." Carter shot Ward a look. "So, no pressure." A panel in the floor slid open, revealing their confiscated weapons, rifles, sidearms, combat knives, and a limited supply of grenades. Not much, but better than nothing. Rice clapped his hands. "I was worried we'd have to fight with our fists. This is a pleasant surprise." Ward grabbed his rifle and strapped on his gear, voice calm but firm. "All right, listen up. We have no choice but to play their game, so we do it our way. This isn't just about fighting. They're watching how we think. Every move we make, every tactic we use, they're analyzing it. If we want to win, we don't just survive. We have to outsmart them." Vance cracked his neck. "So what's the plan?" The announcement continued. The first trial. Combat against the engine of war. From the far side of the arena, the ground rumbled. A massive gate slid open, and something huge emerged. "Oh, come on," Carter groaned. A mechanical monstrosity stomped forward, easily 20 feet tall, bristling with reinforced plating and weaponized arms. It looked like a war machine from humanity's worst nightmares, complete with razor-sharp pincers, plasma turrets, and hydraulics that hissed with every step. "Assessment," Ward ordered. Morris was already scanning it with her suit's interface. "It's built like a tank, but I'm picking up heat fluctuations, Power core's running hot. Looks like it's not fully shielded. Ward nodded. That's our weakness. We need to make it overheat. Do we even have the firepower for that? Rise asked. Not directly, Ward admitted. But we don't need to destroy it. We just need to make it shut itself down. The machine let out a deep, grinding roar and charged. Move, Ward barked. The team scattered as the war machine plowed through where they had been standing, pulverizing the ground. Plasma fire erupted from its turrets, forcing them to dive for cover. All right, we need to push it, Carter shouted, laying down suppressive fire. Make it work harder. Reyes grabbed a grenade, sprinting toward one of the ruins. Let's see how it handles an obstacle course. He lobbed the grenade at a weakened support column. The explosion sent rubble cascading down, forcing the machine to divert its path. It reacted quickly, pivoting and adjusting its course, but the strain was evident. The massive gears in its legs whined, and the heat readings on Morris' interface spiked. Keep doing that, Ward ordered. Vance, set up charges near the rock formation. We'll force it through tight spaces. Keep it running hot. Vance gave a thumbs up and sprinted off. The machine, as expected, pursued. Reyes and Carter kept it busy, using hit-and-run tactics, making it move faster, burn more power. It tried to target them with its plasma turrets, but the environment worked against it. Tall rock spires blocked clear shots, and every time it adjusted, it burned more energy. Power levels at 92%, Morris called. Almost there. Ward sprinted toward Vance's position, where the surgeon had planted charges in a narrow pass between two rock formations. Lure it in. Carter and Reyes baited the machine, firing at its sensors. It roared, shaking the ground as it charged between the rocks. Boom! The charges detonated, sending tons of rubble crashing down. The machine skidded to a halt, but the damage was done. Heat levels spiked past safe parameters. Systems overloaded. The war engine shuddered, its turrets sparking. Then, with a final mechanical groan, it collapsed. Silence. Then, the announcer's voice boomed. Round 1. Complete. Impressive. Ward exhaled, lowering his rifle. All right, he muttered. 1 down, 2 to go. Carter smirked. Think they're starting to regret challenging humans yet? Reyes grinned. They will. The team regrouped, standing in the ruins of their battlefield, waiting for the next challenge. And somewhere in the shadows, the Xelari High Warlords were watching. Learning. Preparing. The jungle of death. The moment the mechanical behemoth collapsed, a new sound rumbled through the arena. The battlefield was shifting. The ruins, now littered with smoldering debris from their fight, began to sink into the ground. At the same time, massive walls began rising, towering above them. Thick, alien jungle vines snaked their way across these structures, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent patterns, as if alive. The ground beneath them shifted, the once dusty battlefield transforming into damp, uneven terrain. The air grew thick with humidity, filled with an almost electric energy that sent shivers down their spines. The arena was evolving into something entirely new. Reyes wiped the sweat off his brow. Why do I feel like we're about to get eaten? Carter adjusted her rifle strap and glanced around warily. Because that's usually what happens in movies when the jungle suddenly appears. Vance muttered, If something's hunting us, I hope it has the decency to let us know first. Their earpieces crackled, and the arena's announcer spoke again in that same, calculated tone. Round 2. The trial of instinct and coordination. Survive the jungle. Adapt to the unseen. Overcome the unknown. The challenge was vague, intentionally vague. This wasn't just about brute force like the first trial. The Xelari wanted to see how humans reacted when placed in an unpredictable, shifting environment. Ward took point, motioning the others forward into the dense alien undergrowth. The jungle hunts back. The deeper they moved, the more unsettling the environment became. The jungle was breathing. The vines coiled and uncoiled like restless serpents. Leaves rustled without wind, and unseen creatures whispered in the darkness. "Eyes up," Ward warned, stepping over a patch of strange glowing moss that seemed to shift when he got too close. "Something tells me this place doesn't just want us to walk through it." Morris, scanning the surroundings with her suit's sensors, suddenly tensed. "Lieutenant, I'm detecting movement, but it's everywhere." The moment she said it, the forest came alive. Vines shot from the trees, striking toward them like whips. Rise barely dodged as one lashed at his face, slamming into the ground with enough force to crater the dirt. "Contact," Ward barked, rolling to the side as another vine lunged at him. They weren't just vines, the plants were hunting them. Vance let out a curse as one wrapped around his leg, trying to drag him upward toward a cluster of thorny branches. He slashed at it with his combat knife, but the damn thing was moving too fast. Carter reacted instantly, raising her rifle and firing a precise shot at the base of the vine. The impact sent a shockwave through the plant, forcing it to release Vance before slithering back into the shadows. The jungle itself is a predator, Morris realized aloud. It's not just the vines. Every part of this ecosystem is designed to attack. Ward reloaded his rifle, scanning the terrain. "Then we stop treating it like a jungle and start treating it like an enemy." Hunting the hunter. Morris quickly analyzed the patterns in the plant movements, her fingers flying over her wrist-mounted scanner. The vines have reaction times. They're fast, but they're still following some kind of logic. If we disrupt their pattern, we might be able to predict where they'll strike next. Ward nodded. "Good. Let's use that against them. Everyone, stay in pairs. No one moves alone." Reyes and Vance took the left flank. Ward and Carter moved up the center, while Morris kept scanning from the rear. They advanced cautiously, using the jungle's rhythm against itself. Every step was calculated, every movement deliberate. A vine lashed toward Carter. She dodged left. Another snapped at Reyes. He ducked just in time. The team was learning. Morris suddenly called out, "There, weak point." A large pulsating plant structure sat at the heart of the jungle, connected to the aggressive vines through thick, glowing tendrils. It wasn't just a plant. It was a central nervous system, controlling the entire environment. "That's our target," Ward confirmed. "Take it out, and we cripple this jungle's ability to fight us." A race against time. But as if sensing the threat, the jungle escalated its attack. From the dense shadows, new creatures emerged, six-legged predators with iridescent exoskeletons, their jagged limbs clicking like living weapons. Their eyes glowed red, locked onto the humans like prey. Reyes groaned. Of course, the plants have pets. One of the creatures lunged. Boom! Carter put 3 rounds into its skull before it even hit the ground, but the others were still coming. "Move! We don't have time for this," Ward commanded. The team sprinted toward the central plant, dodging snapping vines and leaping over the aggressive creatures trying to cut them off. Reyes hurled a grenade. The explosion tore through the jungle, sending dirt and alien plant matter flying, but the plant's core remained intact. "We need a bigger blast," Vance shouted. "We need to hit its power source." Morris, still scanning, suddenly pointed. "There, the root system. That's its energy core." Carter didn't hesitate. She grabbed one of her last grenades, set it to maximum yield, and threw it directly at the root's glowing center. "Down," Ward barked. The explosion that followed wasn't just fire, it was energy. A shockwave blasted outward as the central plant violently collapsed, its bioluminescent tendrils flickering and dying. Victory, but at a cost. The jungle stopped moving. The vines slithered back. The creatures froze in place, their connection to the core severed. Silence. Then the arena shifted again. The jungle began to recede, sinking into the ground like it had never been there at all. The voice returned. "Round 2. Complete. Humans, you continue to surprise us." Ward exhaled, turning to his team. Everyone accounted for. Vance clapped Reyes on the back. Still alive. Carter wiped sweat from her brow. Barely. Morris took one last glance at the battlefield as it faded away. They didn't just want us to survive this time. She turned to Ward. They wanted to see if we could fight nature itself. Ward narrowed his eyes. And we did. But deep down, he knew this wasn't over. The Xelari had tested their strength. They had tested their instincts. And now, they were about to test something far more dangerous. Human ingenuity. The labyrinth of the forgotten. The ground beneath them trembled. The jungle that had nearly swallowed them alive sank into the depths of the arena, its vines retracting into the earth, as if some invisible hand had commanded them to retreat. In its place, towering stone structures rose from the shifting terrain, a labyrinth of ancient design, walls adorned with glowing alien glyphs pulsing like a heartbeat. The air changed. No longer thick with the humidity of the jungle, it was cool, dry, and unnervingly silent. The light above dimmed to an eerie twilight, casting elongated shadows across the maze-like corridors. Carter sighed. I swear, if this is some kind of death trap, I'm gonna be real upset. Reyes, still catching his breath from the last round, gestured at the maze. Does this not scream death trap to anyone else? Vance ran his hand along the smooth surface of the nearest wall, frowning. Feels like stone, but it's too cold, almost like metal. Morris activated her scanner, her brow furrowing. It's both. This entire structure is some kind of hybrid tech, organic and mechanical. Ward kept his rifle raised, surveying the shifting labyrinth. He knew exactly what this was, a test of human intelligence. The first round tested their strength, the second their instincts. This was about problem solving. The arena's voice crackled to life once more. Round 3. The trial of the forgotten. Navigate the labyrinth. Survive its secrets. Escape before time runs out. A deep metallic clang reverberated through the arena as massive doors slammed shut behind them. The only way out was forward. The maze that moves. They advanced cautiously, stepping over cracked stonework that seemed older than time itself. But something felt off. Each corridor looked too similar. Anyone else getting déjà vu? Carter muttered, scanning the walls for any recognizable markings. Yeah, Reyes agreed. We passed this exact corner 3 times now. Either this maze is looping, or we're going in circles. Vance scowled. We're not that dumb. Something's messing with the layout. Morris checked her scanner again, tapping it in frustration. I'm picking up shifting energy signatures. The walls. They're moving. Ward exhaled sharply. The labyrinth isn't just a maze. It's alive. As if to confirm his words, the wall behind them groaned. Then, without warning, it slid sideways, blocking their path. A second later, another section shifted ahead of them, cutting off their previous route. It's rearranging itself, Morris said, eyes widening. It's learning. Carter cursed. Of course, it's not just a maze. It's a damn puzzle. Ward motioned for them to keep moving. Then we find the solution before it traps us. The voices of the lost. They followed the corridors deeper into the labyrinth, taking careful note of the glowing glyphs on the walls. The further they went, the brighter the symbols became, until they reached a large circular chamber. In the center stood a massive obelisk, humming with energy, its surface inscribed with more of the strange glyphs. It radiated an almost sentient presence. Then they heard it. The whispers, soft at first, almost like a breeze carrying distant voices, then louder, overlapping echoes of words in an unknown language. Reyes' fingers tightened around his rifle. Tell me you all hear that. Vance nodded, face grim. Yeah, and I don't like it. Morris cautiously stepped forward, running her scanner over the obelisk. There's something stored in here. A consciousness. Maybe an eye. The whispers shifted. Then, suddenly, they spoke in English. They left us behind. The team tensed. Ward stepped closer. Who left you? The voices layered over one another, painful, echoing memories of something long gone. The Makers. They abandoned us. We were the test. We were the failure. Carter took a step back, whispering, "This place isn't just a maze. It's a graveyard." Ward felt a chill crawl down his spine. He looked at the inscriptions again, realization dawning. This wasn't just a labyrinth. It was a prison. The voices swirled around them. You must not repeat the mistakes of the past. Solve the puzzle. Prove you are different. The obelisk glowed brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then the walls began to close in. Solving the impossible. Morris's mind raced. We triggered something. The maze is collapsing. Vance cursed. Tell me you have an override for that. She was already working, fingers flying across her interface. It's not that simple. The entire system is running on ancient code. I need a pattern. Ward stared at the obelisk, mind searching for connections. The Xelari were testing them, but this maze wasn't built for them. It was built for someone else, someone who had failed. He thought back to the glyphs, the patterns, the movements of the walls. Then it clicked. It's a language. Morris snapped her head toward him. What? The maze. It's speaking to us in symbols. Asterisk asterisk. He turned to the obelisk, pointing at the glyphs. We're thinking in human terms. We need to think like the ones who built this. Carter frowned. You're saying we need to talk to the maze. Exactly. Ward scanned the inscriptions, his instincts kicking in. There was a sequence, certain glyphs repeated like a puzzle waiting to be solved. There. He reached out and pressed his hand to the correct symbol. The whispers stopped. A deep rumble shook the labyrinth. Then, suddenly, the walls parted. A clear path opened ahead of them. Morris exhaled sharply. Holy hell. That actually worked. Reyes grinned. I don't know whether to be impressed or terrified. Ward lowered his hand, his mind still racing. Whoever built this, they were advanced, smarter than we thought, and they left something behind. Carter narrowed her eyes. And now the Xelari know we can solve it. Round 3. Complete. The team stepped forward, emerging into an open chamber bathed in white light. The arena's voice boomed once again. Round 3. Complete. Clever. Adaptable. But knowledge is not enough. The light dimmed. The ground shook. Ahead of them, a massive gate rose from the arena floor. Beyond it, the terrain was unlike anything they had seen before. A strange, otherworldly battlefield, filled with technological ruins and shifting gravity fields. Carter let out a slow breath. We're not done yet. Ward clenched his fists. No, but now we know one thing for sure. Reyes cocked his head. And what's that? Ward turned his gaze toward the massive battlefield ahead, his eyes steely. They don't just want to see if we can fight. They want to see if we can change the game. The war of minds. The ground beneath them trembled as the labyrinth behind them sank into the earth, vanishing as if it had never been there. In its place, a new battlefield emerged, a wasteland of shattered technology, rusted alien structures, and debris from what must have once been a thriving civilization. Strange pulses of energy flickered in the air, disrupting gravity in unpredictable bursts. Some areas had floating platforms, levitating debris, and objects suspended midair, held aloft by invisible forces. Other areas seemed to have time distortions, with certain wreckage moving backward and forward, caught in a temporal loop. The Xelari were escalating the test again. Reyes let out a low whistle. Well, this is new. Morris was already scanning, her interface blinking rapidly. I'm picking up unstable energy fields, some kind of quantum distortion. Carter took a deep breath. So just to recap, so far, we've fought a killer war machine, survived a jungle that tried to eat us, and solved an ancient alien puzzle. Now we're in a floating minefield of broken tech and physics-bending nightmares. Vance smirked. Feels like a normal Tuesday. Their earpieces crackled, and the arena's voice returned. Round 4. The War of Minds. Adapt. Control. Overcome the chaos. Show us what makes humans truly unique. Ward's gut tightened. The phrasing was intentional. This wasn't just a test of their survival or strength. This was a test of human innovation. The battlefield wasn't just dangerous. It was meant to be manipulated. The field of impossible physics. They advanced cautiously, moving between the remains of what appeared to be alien warships, their hulls rusted but still humming faintly with unknown energy. Strange gravimetric fields caused certain wreckages to float, others to warp and bend unnaturally. Rice took a step and immediately shot 5 feet into the air, as if gravity had flipped. Oh, crap. Vance grabbed him mid-air, yanking him down before he could float into a levitating spire of jagged metal. Mortis scanned the terrain, shaking her head. The gravity isn't fixed here. It's fluctuating based on localized distortions. Carter crouched near a chunk of alien machinery, her hands running across its fractured surface. And this tech isn't dead. It's just waiting. Ward studied the floating debris, the strange flickering energy fields, and the way time seemed to loop around certain structures. Then it clicked. This isn't just a battlefield. It's a control center. Morris looked up. What? This place was built to control something, an old war system. That means there's still power running through it. Asterisk asterisk. Rise adjusted his rifle. Which means. Ward turned toward Morris. Can you interface with it? She hesitated, fingers flying over her scanner. I can try. But if this system is alien, there's no guarantee I'll even recognize the command structure. The air shifted. The ground rumbled. And then, they weren't alone anymore. The machine's wake. From the wreckage, figures emerged, twisted remnants of what had once been machines of war. Their bodies were heavily damaged, their movements jerky and unnatural, but they were still functional. Their eyes, or whatever sensory systems they had, flickered to life, locking onto the humans. Then, in eerie synchronization, they moved. Vance raised his weapon. I hate old war zones. Carter sighed. I hate them more when they wake up. The first machine lunged, moving far faster than something that broken should have. Ward barely dodged before opening fire, his round sparking off its warped metal frame. More of them came to life, rising from the wreckage like forgotten ghosts of a war long lost. Mortis swore. They're running on automated combat algorithms. If we don't disrupt their command network, they'll just keep coming. Ward made a split-second decision. Then we shut them down. Rise, Carter, cover fire. Vance with me. Morris, find a way into the system, breaking the code. While the others engaged the machines, Morris ran. She moved toward the largest wreck, where a half-buried control panel still flickered weakly with ancient energy. She slammed her portable interface against it, bypassing security layers as fast as she could. The system resisted. It fought her like a wounded animal, its broken eye attempting to shut her out. But Morris wasn't just fighting the system. She was rewriting it. She tore through its ancient protocols, forcing human logic into a machine that wasn't built for it. She spoke in commands it didn't understand, making it question its own programming. The machines attacking her team stuttered, hesitated. Then, they stopped. The battlefield fell silent. And then, the arena's voice boomed once more. Round 4, complete. You do not simply use technology. You change it. You make it your own. The battlefield shifted. The wreckage sank away, just like the jungle and the maze before it. A new challenge was rising. And this time, Ward could feel it. The Xelari weren't just testing them anymore. They were afraid. Because humans weren't just fighters. They weren't just survivors. They were something far more dangerous. They were unpredictable. And in the grand arena of the universe, that made them the most powerful species of all.